The moment that we have been waiting for. I was afraid it was never going to happen. After one night, RJ Choppy, I think, got a little bit too deep into the bottle. What were we drinking? what were we drinking?
Was in his cups.
Because this is very unlike him. He's very non-confrontational. He knows how good you've been to us. You come on. We're going to see you at the Combine. What were we drinking last night?
Last night we had Blade and Bow.
Yeah.
Very good stuff.
And I knew on a Friday, he's never doing extra work on social media over the weekends. And then he decides to go to Mike Florio.
I had time.
And what was it?
It was the Mark Sanchez story, which we've got to go find that alley while we're here.
I wanted to reenact it last night.
We were talking about that last night. Let's go find the Mark Sanchez alley.
It's like the X on
it's like you visit Dealey Plaza. Yep.
But so and then I saw this post from the Pro Football Talk account that had the story, and the photo was Mark Sanchez in a Cowboys jersey, and then I just, I went to Google, which is not how you guys find your photos, apparently.
Yeah, you discovered later.
I discovered later.
As a master of WordPress that you are, you discovered later.
Yeah, well, listen, I speak first, then think.
Here it is. I did a Google image search of Mark Sanchez and screen recorded how long it took me to get Mark in a Cowboys jersey. This was on purpose, and it's disgraceful. This has everything but thank you for your attention to this guy.
What date and time? What date and time, Mike?
I got to click on it here. It was 11/27/2025, 6:02 p.m., and it got 2.5 million views.
Did it
son of a
really?
And you're Pacific time, right?
No, I'm Eastern.
Oh, okay.
Hang on.
Eastern. Well, that was even earlier.
It was 11/27.
November 27th.
This is November 27, 2025.
Oh, it was Thanksgiving. He'd been drinking.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was like, 6 o'clock seems early. It was Thanksgiving.
So
So he was drinking on
It
Thanksgiving.
was halftime.
So
It was halftime in the Cowboys.
Yeah. So then you're seeing these notifications. You got to be like, what the hell?
I'm like, what in the hell? Especially because, as I've said to others, life's hard enough dealing with your enemies. When your friends start acting like your enemies, that's when things become problematic.
Oh yeah, ask
And
SMU.
Let me see what I said. What was my response? I said.
Did you tweet or you texted
I said,
me?
tell your guy to effing relax. That was my response.
Yeah. And then I came in. I was like, what are you?
You said, come get your boy.
Come get your boy.
Come get your boy.
And I went in and I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, I had a few.
And here's what I said. You say I cussed him out last night. He said he was drunk. And I said, we've used like 100 images of Sanchez since October 5. That was the day of the incident here in Indianapolis. I don't like to use the same one over and over again. I won't use any with the old Washington logo on it, and I won't. And he did play for the Cowboys. He factually did play for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So
you're not going
we've
through
used
your
Jets, we've used Bears, we've used Eagles, we've used and I don't like to use the same one twice.
Right.
That's the thing.
So,
and there have been a lot of Mark Sanchez stories on the site, or at least there had been between October and November of last year.
And you say you don't like to fight with Italians.
I don't. Typically, I keep my people. They can do no wrong, even if I disagree with them.
Right.
I'll never. My grandpa said, I didn't see nothing. I always say that.
Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, football night.
You saw something on Thanksgiving.
I had time. But, you should really just have Pro Football Talk end in a vowel. And I wouldn't have said anything.
Well,
Pro Football Talk, yo.
Yeah.
Mike, you've been watching Sundays with Jason Garrett. And you do the interviews with Jason Garrett. And Jason, phenomenal storyteller. We have a long history.
Oh, he's got so many good stories.
What is it? Okay, what have you learned about him that you didn't know while spending these weekends with him and that maybe would surprise some people?
Well, he really does have.
He's an amazing storyteller.
A story for everything. And he'll say, I got a story for you. And he gets a little gleam in his eye.
Yeah. Is he ever unhappy? Isn't he always smiling? Have you seen him irritated or mad?
The only time he's irritated, I know he's irritated because he will say, what are we doing here?
That's such a Jason phrase.
That's what he said. That's what he said to Dalrymple when we were walking off the field that day. He goes, "What are we doing here?" Although I think he threw an F-bomb.
That's his entry into whatever he's going to talk about. And one thing I've noticed about football coaches coach everyone and everything, not just football. If they see something that they think can be improved, they will tell you how you can improve it. So in any situation, if something is happening that he finds less than what it could be, he will start down that path by saying, what are we doing here?
What about the football knowledge? Like, is he pointing out things and you're like, you're watching it with Dungy or Rodney or whoever?
I'll give you 2 examples as it relates to the Vikings, because as you guys may know, I'm partial to the Vikings, and it's a curse I've been unable to shed for 50-plus years. The 2022 season, the first year with Kevin O'Connell, when the Vikings made it to the playoffs, Kirk Cousins was the quarterback. They were playing the Giants in the wild card round, and after the first Giants drive, they were right down the field and scored a touchdown. He turned to me and he said, it's going to be a long day for you. And then last year, 2024, when the Vikings were winning with Sam Darnold, after every win, he would turn and he'd say, they can't let that guy out of the building. And I made sure I reminded him of it this year before he could remind me of it, because obviously they let him out of the building, and look at what he did with the Seahawks. But he was a big believer even after he had that rough game in Detroit week 18 when they had the shot at the number 1 seed, and then the next week against the Rams in the playoffs. That was more of a total team failure. That wasn't on him. But they decided, all right, we're going to cast our lot with J.J. McCarthy. They let Darnold out of the building. And I'm not saying the Vikings would have won the Super Bowl with Darnold, but he was saying all year long, you can't let that guy out of the building.
Has any of the college noise surrounding Jason, you think, been legit? Like, do you think he wants to go back and coach, or he would coach college?
I think that he has some interest in coaching. I don't know about college, and I don't know where college stuff came up. He had an interview with the Titans this year.
Yeah.
And I think he was excited about that. He doesn't seem like someone who is very big on self-promotion. And he's not going to go toot his own horn, bang his own drum, and that can be a disadvantage because you're competing with people who do. So as the world moves by, they're going to notice the people who are saying, look at me, look at me,
right.
Look at me, and that's just not his way. And we're about the same age, and it's fun talking to him about historical games and things that we both remember, and talking to him about his time with the Cowboys. And he's got a lot of great stories about his time with the Cowboys. Plenty of stories I can't share.
The lemonade stories.
He's got a lot of great stories about his time with the team. I could tell you guys had a good night last night. You got packs of Advil.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're not hanging out like
these were on the table.
We wanted to see a Prime 47 again. You weren't there last night.
I'll be there. We're going there tonight.
Okay.
I paced myself. It's a long week. I've lost track. We did 10 interviews yesterday, and I did them all solo because Chris Sims got snowed in Connecticut, so I had 10 GMs and coaches I interviewed. Today we've already done 4 of the linebackers. We've got 8 more prospects and 5 coaches and GMs, so that's 17 today. We'll do a bunch Thursday, a bunch Friday, and then I'll head home.
Where do you get all your secret meetings done, all your inside info?
Secret.
But it's supposed to be in the restaurants. It's supposed to be out at Bobby with midnight and 1 a.m.
Listen, I don't need to go either get someone drunk or hang around someone who's drunk to find out the stuff I need to know. I don't need to do that. And I got to function at 6 a.m. I've had some nights. There was a night 7 or 8 years ago. It depends on the mood I'm in. But there was a night that we were at Prime and we were leaving. And Shireen knows the Joneses because she covered the team forever. Shireen Williams, who was formerly with the Fort Worth Star-Telegram and has been with PFT for 7 or 8 years now. But we stopped by to say hello. And Jerry's like, oh, Ron, have a seat. Have a seat. Sit down. Visit with us. That's a horrible Jerry impression.
That's really bad.
Pretty bad.
I know.
Maybe at 5 a.m. after drinks.
I know.
Right.
But
what was your drink on November 27th at about 7 p.m.?
No, I didn't. I don't think I was drinking that night. But anyway, we sat down, and they're bringing around the Pinot, and it's the old. I had 1 glass of wine because it never emptied.
Yeah.
And they got somebody coming up, filling up your glass. And Stephen had a big plate of chicken parm that they took back 3 times to heat up.
I ordered
because he didn't eat it. he's talking.
Yeah.
So they take it, they heat it up, they bring it back, and it sits there for a half hour. And it's like, sir, would you like to heat this up? Yeah, you probably should. Take it, heats it up. So we just sat there and listened, but that Pinot was flowing. And at 11 o'clock, I said, man, as much fun as this is, I got to get the hell out of here because I got a show at 6 a.m. And that was that was one of those mornings where when that alarm goes off, give me these Advil and give me anything else.
Mike Florio, ProFootballTalk.com. So we're trying to convince ourselves that the Cowboys are operating differently now. A little bit differently in that let's sign Javonte Williams early. And maybe, let's go about things a little bit differently with Pickens versus the way we did with Micah Parsons.
Move on from Eberflus directly after the season. Do an extensive search. Hire a coordinator without head coaching experience.
Are you buying any of it, Mike?
The key is going to be improvement to the defense. We know that. And with Javonte Williams, it's an interesting case study because how much could he have gotten somewhere else? The initial reaction to his contract, 8 years, $24 million, and who knows if that's the right number. We haven't seen the full details yet. It may be a little less than $8 million a year. But what would he have gotten elsewhere? He's not a guy with breakaway speed. He's not a guy who's a big contributor in the passing game. And I think the Cowboys' attitude was, if we don't get this guy under the terms that we find favorable, we'll just go wait for the second or third wave of free agency and sign another guy for 1 year, $3-4 million, like we did with Javonte Williams. It happened to Rico Dowdle last year. There's a sweet spot in free agency where if you wait too long, your chance at getting a multi-year payday is gone, and you got to do a 1 year deal and try to do it again next year. So they could have said, we got great offensive line, we got a great quarterback, we got great receivers. We're not gonna allocate that kind of money to the running back position. But I think they're happy with the deal they did. And with Pickens, man, this is tricky. This is tricky because there's an issue, and I really need to start focusing on this more. The way they calculate the franchise tag, it lags behind the market. The market's 40, and the tag's 28. So what the Cowboys can do is say, we'll tag him this year, and then they can tag him next year because by rule, it's a 20% increase over the tag this year. So let's make sure we got this right. 28 times 1.2, it's 33.6 next year. So even for the second tag, it's nearly $6.5 million below the market. The market will be higher than 40. Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to nudge it up another notch or so. And it's going to keep going up. It always goes up. So, but what cards does Pickens have to play? What's his leverage?
Mulligetta.
But what's his leverage? What's his play?
I'm just not going to participate.
You could, right, but okay, so you're still going to get $28 million. Like you withhold services during the offseason program, training camp, and the preseason because he will be no more employed by the team than you or I.
Right.
He's not under contract. You can show up week before the start of the season or thereabouts, get your full $28 million. So that's the thing that he is entitled to do. But does that put pressure on them to give him a multi-year deal? The deadline is July 15. Anything he does by way of holding out or holding in after that, it doesn't do him anything other than maybe get more money on a one-year tender. It doesn't get him a multi-year contract. So the play's got to come early. And I don't know what the play is. Is the play, I want to trade, I will never play under the tag? What is the play? There's got to be a play to shake them and get them to either give him a market-level deal or trade him to a team that will. And what he's got working against him is his history in Pittsburgh. And I'm a George Pickens defender. I said yesterday on PFT Live, because we were arguing about this, if you put Randy Moss in Pittsburgh from 2022 through 2024, you would hear the same stuff about him that you heard about George Pickens. Because you put him
we heard it in Minnesota with quarterbacks.
You put him with a bad quarterback. You don't throw him the ball. You don't design the offense to showcase him with jet sweeps, bubble screens, handoffs. There's ways to get the ball in a special player's hand that doesn't entail get open. It's, whoop, here, come take it. Okay, we're going to, they always did that. John Madden was big on that with Randy Moss. Get him involved early. Get him involved early. If you don't involve him early, he shuts down. So anyway, they got a problem. And I hope they are fair to George Pickens, and I hope they do right by him. But I think at some point they're going to have to choose between Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. At some point. Not now. Next year or two, at some point they're going to have to choose between. And they're not going to be able to keep both of them around.
Oh.
Mike Florio, ProFootballTalk.com, right here on 105.
Just like Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
As soon as they draft CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper's on borrowed time.